Last night, the film No Other Land won the Oscar for Best Documentary. The film, which stars Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham and Palestinian activist Basel Adra, chronicles the occupation and destruction of Masafer Yatta, a Palestinian village in the West Bank. The film has been described as a testimony to friendship, solidarity, and resistance. While much of the film documents Israeli attempts at land grabs and violence from Israeli military and settler forces from 2019 through 2023, it also juxtaposes snippets from old videos recorded by Adra's family and neighbors. No Other Land features footage of protests filmed by Basel Adra when he was just 7 years old. As he sits with his mother in a field, his father is violently assaulted and then arrested by the Israeli army. Here's a clip from the trailer.
Thousand Palestinians face one of the single biggest expulsion decisions since the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories began.
هاي قصة عن القوة.
أنا اسمي باسل.
مسافر يطا هي المكان اللي كبرت فيه. بداية تصويري هي بداية نهايتنا.
جرافات؟ أنا متعب بخير.
شوف بس
شو الوضع؟ 48 لا يهودي عندكم اياه والله.
في صوت بيطلع يعني مش ناس قاعدين يعني فيش بني ادمين.
شوف دخلوا. This is what's happening in my village now. Soldiers are everywhere.
بيكون كثير حلو إذا بصير بعدين انتوا بتيجوا تزوروني مش أنا بزوركم ولا لا؟
ولا شو تفكر؟ لو أنت مكاني شو تفكر؟
At the Oscars, Yuval Abraham, the film's co-creator and also an investigative journalist for the Israeli media outlet 972 magazine, in his Oscar acceptance speech, called for Israel to end the destruction of Gaza, for Hamas to release the remaining hostages, and for the end of policies of, quote, ethnic supremacy in the West Bank, in which Israeli Jews like himself are treated differently than his Palestinian friend Basel Adra, who lives under a different set of laws and norms simply on the basis of race and ethnicity. Because Basra is Palestinian, he cannot vote for the government that ultimately rules over him, or for the Israeli military that decides the fate of millions of other Palestinians in the West Bank. Here's a clip.
We made this film, Palestinians and Israelis, because together our voices are stronger. We see each other. The atrocious destruction of Gaza and its people, which must end. The Israeli hostages brutally taken in the crime of October 7th, which must be freed. When I look at Basel, I see my brother, but we are unequal. We live in a regime where I am free under civilian law, and Basel is under military laws that destroy his life and he cannot control. There is a different path, a political solution without ethnic supremacy, with national rights for both of our people. And I have to say, as I am here, the foreign policy in this country is helping to block this path. And, you know, why? Can't you see that we are intertwined? That my people can be truly safe if Basel's people are truly free and safe. There is another way. It's not too late for life, for the living. There is no other way. Thank you. Rachel Shore.
Now here's the rub. Every other film awarded an Oscar last night had U.S. distribution. No other land, despite winning the most prestigious accolade in Hollywood, could not obtain a U.S. distributor. It is only shown in small and independent theaters. Hopefully, this award changes that, but the situation reflects an ongoing form of systemic censorship in American media. Here's how the New York Times described the dynamic. Despite a string of honors and rave reviews, no distributor would pick up the film in the United States, making it nearly impossible for American filmgoers to see it in theaters or to stream it. This shortcoming made No Other Land part of a broader trend in recent years in which topical documentaries have struggled to secure distribution. Now, this claim about quote-unquote topical documentaries struggling to obtain distribution obscures the reality. Let's take a look at the last decade or so of Oscar-winning documentaries. The winner last year, 20 Days in Mariupol, about Ukrainian forces fighting Russians, that's a film that certainly revolved around a topical issue area, and yes, they had a major distributor. The year before that, the best documentary went to Navalny, about the Russian dissident, another topical documentary that again had a distributor, in this case, Warner Brothers. In 2019, the winner was the film produced by the Obamas, American Factory, about a Chinese-owned factory in Ohio and its struggle with union organizers and a culture clash about the nature of work. Again, no problem finding a distributor. Even the very controversial documentary Citizen4 about Edward Snowden, which featured our esteemed host Glenn Greenwald, which won an Oscar for Best Documentary in 2014, that film, which enraged the U.S. national security state, had a major distributor, and the film was widely shown in U.S. theaters. No, the issue is not topical documentaries failing to obtain distribution or streaming deals. The issue is the aggressive and often successful attempt by pro-Israel pressure groups to prevent audiences from viewing films that are critical of Israel. We've seen pressure campaigns for Netflix to remove Farha, the Jordanian film about atrocities committed during the 1948 war in Israel. There have been similar challenges for other films critical of Israel, including Tentura, 200 Meters, Little Palestine Diary of Siege, and Naila and the Uprising. Recently, the American documentary Israelism, produced by left-leaning American Jews, investigates how American Jewish communities educate their members about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, often in ways that erase the existence of Palestinians. The film has faced an ongoing campaign of censorship. The University of Pennsylvania refused to allow a Jewish student group to screen the movie, and Hunter College similarly canceled a screening. Eventually, Hunter College allowed a screening, but only if a rabbi was featured to host a discussion after the film, and he was criticized for refusing to take student questions. Screenings for the film have been blocked in other colleges and universities since October 7th. The other incredible example of film censorship that really has no parallel in recent modern American history is that of Al Jazeera's explosive documentary, The Lobby. This multi-part series featured an undercover reporter who infiltrated a pro-Israel lobbying group with a hidden camera and gained unprecedented access to strategy sessions from a constellation of pro-Israel organizations that touted their work covertly censoring, surveilling, and intimidating American activists and student groups. The film also shows the close coordination with the Israeli government, regular meetings with the Israeli embassy, along with explicit direction and support from Israeli intelligence groups operating in the U.S. Let's watch a brief clip from the film.
We are all on the defensive, and I think we should move to the offensive. Using especially cyber and internet tools to try and defeat this ugly movement. I'm really honored to present my partners here, Brigadier General Sima Vakandil, the Director General of the Ministry of Strategic Affairs. Sima, please.
The fact that the Israeli government decided to be a key player means a lot, because we can bring things that usually are not existing in NGOs or civilian entities that are now enrolled in this thing. The Israeli government can look at the bigger picture and actually create this coordination and cooperation.
But this explosive film was removed from the internet in 2018. In 2018, as the Qatari government, which funds Al Jazeera, faced a military blockade from the Saudi Arabian and UAE government, negotiated a settlement of that conflict, Max Blumenthal and others reported that as part of the deal with the US, along with the first Trump administration, they called for removing the Lobby film in exchange for it lifting the blockade and restoring normal relations. Pro-Israel organizations with influence with the Trump administration who were angered by the film and its many exposés helped play a key role in the negotiations. And finally, I have my own story to tell that has not been previously reported. In 2023, I worked with a Norwegian film company to produce Praying for Armageddon, a documentary about the role of Christian Zionism in fueling the crisis in Israel. Many pro-Israel lawmakers here in the US and policymakers have explicitly endorsed the removal of Palestinians from Israel and encouraged violent conflict as part of their interpretation of a biblical doomsday prophecy in which the second coming of Christ requires Jewish control of the Holy Land and a new world war that ends up killing or converting the world's Jewish population. While it may sound like an anti-Jewish belief system, some of these Christian Zionists and allied pro-Israel groups encourage this belief because it builds American support for Israel's continued expulsion of Palestinians from their homes and communities. Here's a brief clip from the movie. We're talking to members of Congress about Israel and the U.S.'s relationship.
All right, y'all go. The U.S. has an intrinsic interest in making sure that Israel not only receives our best prayers and offers of success, but our armaments, our money, and our ability to make sure that in a very dangerous reason this democracy survives.
There are some biblical prophecies that say that control of Jerusalem by the Jews is important for the second coming of Christ.
This entire matter is based upon faith of our Maker, of our Creator, but it's also faith of a chosen people.
Can you ask why the Democrats using our law enforcement officers as political pawns? The Democrats who have been campaigning to defund our law enforcement as their people, BLM and Antifa, riot and loot in the streets.
How would you like to see the Capitol Police?
There's a new government in Israel. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of the U.S. relationship with Israel?
There have been two nations created to glorify God, Israel and the United States of America. I will bless both. I will honor both. I will do all I can to stand and defend them.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Take care. Here, again, it was virtually impossible to find a single U.S. distributor or streaming partner. Many European television networks and distributors showed the film. However, after months and months, no one here in America said yes. And I can say that again. Fear of angering pro-Israel pressure groups played a major role in why this film could not find a single American platform, a streaming network, or a distributor.
Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.